On Public Eye News, the Trump administration intervenes in the Line 5 pipeline case. But first, the NMU board approves a new budget.
Jackson Spencer will have your weather forecast for the next couple of days. Later, Tayon Croft will bring you today's sports breakdown. I'm Summer Starrett.
And I'm Luke Niddle. This is Public Eye News. The Michigan State Police will be hosting a recruitment fair at the MSP 8th District headquarters this Thursday from 9 to 2 p.m. The event will include 2 tests, one physical and the baseline fitness test, and the entry-level law enforcement exam. As well, recruits will be given assistance on filling out the application for motor carrier officers and troopers. The event is in an effort to curb the low amount of new officers entering the force with a combination of retirements and a lower success of recruiting. According to Colonel and Director of the MSP, James Grady, the force would ideally like to see at least 500 to 600 new recruits and, in an ideal world, up to 800. There is a hard arrival time of 10:30 a.m. for the 8th District's event, and if you show up past the start time, you will not be allowed to participate in any test taking. And the Northern Michigan University Board of Trustees has approved the budget for the fiscal year of 2026 at $137.6 million, an increase of over $6 million. Notable parts of the budget include $275,000 in design services for the Northern Enterprise Center, which will be in addition to Hedgecock and will host the College of Business. The center was previously waiting on board approval and now awaits authorization of construction on the building. As well, the board approved $500,000 to be allocated towards design services of Phase 2 of the Hardin Hall renovation. Other items of business included an update on the construction of 2 new campus apartment buildings on Presque Isle, which broke ground this past summer.
Republican Bill Berrien, who plans to run in the Wisconsin governor race, has been questioned about his online activity. Berrien claims that girls' sports teams are in danger in relation to transgender players and remains critical of what he calls quote-unquote radical behavior, but follows and visits a number of sexually explicit accounts, including a non-binary pornographer and sexual essays. Both Republican and Democratic parties have declined to make a statement on the matter. Dan Degner, the president of Wisconsin conservative group, Wisconsin Family Action, who will be giving an endorsement to the party, makes it clear the endorsement will only be granted to a candidate who is in line with those conservative views. The primary election is set to take place November 2026. And President Trump's administration argues that Governor Gretchen Whitmer has interfered with U.S. foreign policy in regards to her revoking of Enbridge's easement, an aging pipeline running under a Great Lakes channel. This pipeline is also referred to as Line 5 and has been moving oil from Wisconsin to Ontario since 1953. In November of 2020, Whitmer ordered the revoke of the easement. The Trump administration argues this will disrupt the energy supply chain, conflict with the 1977 treaty between U.S. and Canada, and only the federal government can regulate pipeline safety. Whitmer argues that the state has the authority to revoke under public trust doctrine. Enbridge has filed a lawsuit and continued operation in spite of the revocation. The hearing is set for judgment on November 12th. The White House says taking acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, may not be safe for pregnant women, but many in the medical community are disagreeing with the changes issued by the Trump administration officials. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
Confusion and pushback following the Trump administration's warning about taking acetaminophen while pregnant.
Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, it's fight like hell not to take it.
The administration pointed to some studies suggesting a potential association between the medication and autism. But doctors say the White House announcement is not backed by the full body of scientific evidence.
We think that the overwhelming evidence that we have seen over the last 20 years does not show causation for acetaminophen causing autism.
The Autism Science Foundation also calls it misleading to try and point to a single cause for the condition.
Autism is so complex that there really cannot be one single cause. It's a complex interaction of genetics and the environment.
Doctors worry about the risk of pregnant women not treating illness or fever.
The risks of having a fever, unmitigated, untreated during either pregnancy or early childhood, are much stronger than any hypothetical link that was shown in a couple of studies.
As part of this week's announcement, the FDA plans to update the safety label on acetaminophen to reflect its new warning. At the same time, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. acknowledges autism research is ongoing.
We will be uncompromising and relentless in our search for answers. We will perform the studies that should have been performed 25 years ago.
Secretary Kennedy says that includes the topic of vaccines. Numerous studies have debunked links between childhood vaccines and autism. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Now don't touch that dial. After this short break, we'll be back with your weather and statewide news.
This is making me emotional.
On Finding Your Roots, Mario Lopez.
Man, I'm just blessed to be born when I was.
And Melissa Villaseñor.
I'm Basque, baby. I want to shout it from the mountaintops.
Ancestors who crossed the border.
This is not what we think of Mexican immigration. It's kind of cool.
Leaving family history behind.
You ever think of yourself as an indigenous woman?
I love that.
Finding Your Roots.
Tuesday night at 8.
Welcome back. I'm Jackson Spencer, here to give you your weather report. Starting off with the roof cam, it's looking a bit cloudy and gloomy outside. Makes me want to stay inside, and looks like everybody else is also inside. And then on the map, starting off in Houghton, it is 66 and cloudy. Ironwood, 66 and cloudy with a chance of showers. Iron Mountain, 66, cloudy, also a chance of showers. And Menominee, 67, with some sun peeking out with some partly cloudy skies. Then moving over to Escanaba, also 67 degrees with some partly cloudy skies. In Manistee, 70, Sault Ste. Marie, 64, and then in our lovely Marquette, 63. And then taking a closer look at those current conditions, we have winds coming out of the north at 10 miles per hour with a barometric pressure of 29.94 inches and rising. Looking at tonight, it's going to be mostly cloudy with a low of 55, winds coming north at 7 miles per hour, and our moon phase will be a waning crescent, sorry. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a high of 62, low of 53, and winds going north at 10 miles per hour. And then taking a closer look through the weekend into the weekend, Thursday, high of 71, low of 55, with some mostly sunny skies. And Friday is also going to be a bit sunny, with a high of 65, low of 54, and then Saturday, a high of 67, low of 52, and those clouds should be out of here with some sunny skies. And that's all the weather I have. Back to the news desk.
Thank you for that weather report, Jackson. I certainly have been feeling the gloom of those clouds. I'm very excited for it to clear up later in the week. Going on to some statewide news. Career and technical education is on the rise in the state of Michigan, with a record number of 55,431 high school students completing CTE programs. In the past decade, the Michigan Department of Education has seen over double the participation since the 2014-15 school year, from just over 27,000 to 55,000. The proposal of more budget for CTE programs has been strongly pushed by Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer in the 2026 state budget. As of now, the state House budget does not have any allocation for CTE funding. Part of Governor Whitmer's budget proposal would include $125 million to fund the creation of CTE programs in local and intermediate school districts. And the Michigan Economic Development Corporation accepted 6 awards in excellence at the International Economic Development Council's annual conference in Detroit. The MEDC received 3 gold and 3 silver awards and was especially highlighted for the Make It in Michigan program, which seeks to keep jobs local to the state. Additionally, representatives from the MEDC participated in a number of panel discussions at the event, including panels such as Building Broad Immigrant Inclusive Economic Development Strategies to Boost Your Economic Development Performance, Impact, and Metrics, led by Spencer Lucker, Director of Strategic Talent Initiatives for the MEDC. For more information on the awards received by the board, go to michiganbusiness.org. And the 80th United Nations General Assembly kicked off in New York this morning. President Trump was one of today's first speakers and began by declaring now as the quote-unquote golden age of America, claiming inflation, gas prices, and energy costs are down. But as Jared Hill reports, his views on the international body are anything but golden.
President Trump's speech at the United Nations General Assembly opened with a lighthearted technical issue.
That whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
But Trump brought a serious message for world leaders, telling them the United Nations isn't living up to its potential.
What is the purpose of the United Nations?
The president claimed to have ended 7 wars and said he got no help from the UN.
For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war.
Trump has been calling for a deal to end the fighting between Israel and Hamas, but says the creation of a Palestinian state would only reward Hamas.
But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
Several close U.S. allies are joining a growing list of nations who say they'll recognize a Palestinian state. France joining that list just yesterday.
Et le peuple palestinien.
President Trump also said he thought he would have ended Russia's war against Ukraine by now.
I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one.
Overnight, Ukraine said Russian missile strikes killed 2 people and damaged civilian infrastructure, while Russia says it intercepted drones headed for Moscow. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
We'll be right back with your sports report right after this short break.
Tune in to the heartbeat of the Upper Peninsula. At Public Radio 90, we're more than just a frequency on your dial. We're your trusted home for national public radio. Let our diverse blend of music be the soundtrack to your day. Public Radio 90, where community comes alive. Tune in and let your imagination soar. Don't miss Weekday with Hans Ahlstrom, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4.
You're listening to member-supported Public Radio 90, WNMU FM.
Welcome back to Public Eye Sports. I'm Tayon Croft, and I will be giving you the latest sports breakdown. To go into M&T Bank Stadium against a potential Super Bowl contender and dominate both sides of the ball, the Detroit Lions were nothing short of remarkable last night. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for over 200 rushing yards and had 2 touchdowns each. To say this was impressive is a huge understatement. Detroit absolutely owned the trenches. The defensive line sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. This is the most elusive quarterback in the league. The icing on the cake was the offensive line giving up 0 sacks. After a rough week 1 start, there seems to be no trouble on the field for the Lions. But there's definitely trouble out on the diamond. The Detroit Tigers held a 15.5 game lead in the AL Central, leaving Cleveland on July 6th. They are 1-9 in their last 10 games and currently on a 6-game losing streak. With 3 of those losses coming to Cleveland, the Guardians currently trail Detroit by 1 game in the division. The Boston Red Sox are also a playoff threat to the Tigers and could knock them out. Want to take a guess who the Tigers play those remaining 6 games? Detroit will be on the road for the rest of the season at both Fenway Park and at Progressive Field. Game 1 against Cleveland starts tonight at 6:40 p.m. If there was any season for Detroit to avenge themselves after a long season, it's certainly this one. Series. Moving on to the wrestling mat, NMU's Peyton Jacobson and Max Black competed at the Senior World Series Championships in Croatia this past weekend. Both Greco-Roman wrestlers finished in the top 15 of their respective weight classes, with Black finishing in 13th place and Jacobson finishing in 7th. At 60 kilograms, Max Black finished with a 1-2 record in his bout, falling just short in his final match. Jacobson, on the other hand, competed at 87 kilograms weight class. He finished with an even 2-2 record on the weekend, and Northern's Greco-Roman wrestling team will travel to Novi Sad, Serbia next month for the U23 World Championships. That's all I have today for sports. Back to the desk.
Thank you for that sports update, Tayon. Certainly an exciting time to be a Lions fan right now. That was a great game yesterday.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to see some of NMU's own getting some good stuff going on.
Absolutely. I hear you have one more story for us,
I sure do. As a part of Environmental Action Week, NMU is hosting Engaging in Conflict with Civility. This event promotes rethinking conflict and civil discourse when engaging with others outside of one's own personal, social, and political beliefs. They will practice respectful conversation and learn about the psychology of conversations. This event will take place Thursday, September 25th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Jamrich Hall.
Well, I've certainly been hearing a lot about Environmental Action Week. Will you be going to that?
I sure hope so. I'm also going to be in Jamrich for the Wild Pups on Thursday.
Absolutely. I think I've been hearing a lot about it. You know, I admittedly don't know a ton about environmental action, but I would certainly love to go to that seminar and learn a little bit more. But with that, we're out of time here in Public Eye News today. I'm Luke Niddle.
I'm Summer Sterrett.
We'll see you tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.